Do the Browns really have a top 10 defensive line? Mikey, someone says so.
Yeah, PFF is continuing its position group rankings heading into the 2025 season. The Browns not included on most of those, but they did find their way into PFF's top 10 defensive lines. And I was curious if this top 10 ranking was due to two different variables. Here is the top 10 from PFF. The Steelers had the #1 rated defensive line according to their metrics. The Eagles at #2, the Giants at 3, the Texans at 4, and the Buffalo Bills at #5. The back half of the top 10, the Lions at 6, your Cleveland Browns coming in at #7, the Broncos at 8, the Rams at 9, and the Ravens at 10, which means the AFC North has 3 of the top 10 defensive lines in football. G. Bush, do you believe the Browns' top 10 ranking, #7 on this list, is a testament to simply how good Myles Garrett is individually, or is that PFF having a ton of belief in some of the young guys, Mike Hall and mainly Mason Graham, who was a top 5 draft pick in 2025?
Not at all. Not at all. First of all, the #7, them being 7 is low-key laughable.
You think it's too low?
No, it's way too high.
Oh, okay.
It's extremely high. It was one of them things that, like, okay, so we got to get. How do we get Myles Garrett in one of these publications? He's the Defensive Player of the Year. He's always up for the award. Well, we can't put him. We're not going to mention the Browns anytime else, anywhere else. So we got to really make sure that he gets somewhere 7 through 10. Because at the end of the day, who's really going to complain that the Browns' defensive line is #7 or 8? Nobody's going to complain about that too much because you'll say, hey, at least you got Myles Garrett. But the problem is this. The Browns better have a top 10 defensive line. I'll explain why. You just went and got Mason Graham at #5.
Yep.
A #5, top 5 pick at defensive tackle has to be dominant.
Instead of picking a quarterback.
Instead of getting a quarter, instead of taking Travis Hunter, you got a defensive tackle. You I didn't say you wasted. You chose Mike Hall Jr. At your #2 pick last year. So these 2 picks must play, must be dominant, must play from day one if the Browns want to justify those picks. They should be in the top 5 or top 7 because they put a lot of resources up there.
Well, there's a reason why it's PFF that we're talking about. It's because PFF ranked Isaiah McGuire, I think, in the top 3 of defensive ends against the run.
That's wild.
So when you take the way that PFF grades, when you take Isaiah McGuire's grade and you combine it with Myles Garrett and you combine it with the fact they just used a top 5 pick, yeah, I get why. Now, are they in reality, productivity, a top 10 defensive line? Man, I don't know. We're going to find out here in a few months. But if you're talking about it being a PFF grade, yeah, I can see why PFF would put him there because PFF is very high on Isaiah McGuire. The entire world is high on Myles Garrett. Mike Hall showed flashes.
Yeah.
And now you pair him with Mason Graham. So the potential is there, certainly. And those are, by the way, I mean, Myles is deeply in the prime of his career, but the other 3 guys are really young. Like, this is a crew that should be able to stay together for a few years to go.
Yeah.
Production.
Is this the PFF that's dead to me?
Yes.
It is the PFF.
It is. The same PFF that's
same
dead to me.
PFF.
Yeah, Pro Football Focus.
Unless they have a Baker Mayfield stat that you like.
Well,
and then they're back to life.
Then they're coming on strong. Actually, the numbers that I read off in our YouTube show, those are PFF approved.
Yeah,
okay.
There you go.
They checked them to make sure they were all correct. Here's the thing. I agree with you, Jay. I think on paper, when you look at the Ohio State run game was unstoppable, wasn't it? They had two guys that were being argued as potential. Both of them could be first-round draft picks.
Yeah.
This is one of the best running games in college football. They went and won a national championship. They were only stopped by one team this year, and Mason Graham was the anchor of that line that stopped them. And that's not a joke, and that's not a mistake. This Ohio State team could not run the football against Mason. Well, let's get the whole Michigan line. I mean, he obviously had a lot to do with it, but so I think he comes in highly touted. He's a very good player. And Myles Garrett is the best defensive lineman in football, at least by most people's account. So if Graham has the kind of year that we think he's capable of having, And I had forgotten about McGuire and how highly PFF thinks of him. I think we would all agree that we like him, but I don't know that we would say he's the third best run stopper
But how many
in the NFL.
How many of us are watching Isaiah Graham against the run?
No, you're right. You're right.
If the defensive end isn't making sacks, isn't getting to the quarterback, we're not watching them.
No, we're not.
We need production.
And they watch every play, and they've got guys that are just focusing on him. I think that's probably. Let's see if he's the third best against the run this year. Okay.
He's going to get opportunity.
He's going to get an opportunity to do that. If that's the case, you've got one of the best defensive ends in the history of the game, and clearly one of the best right now. Mm-hmm. You've got a top 5 pick in the middle, and you've got McGuire as a guy that's supposed to be an all-world run stopper. If all 3 of those things come true this year, they're top 3.
I need them to start. If we're going to put them in the top 7, they should be penciled in today as day 1 starters on the depth chart.
I want Graham penned in.
Yeah, that better.
Better start.
Marker. He better start. I need a top 5. I need him to play. Mike Hall Jr. need to play too.
Would you agree that they could be a top 3 if all those guys pan out and have great years?
Man, the Steelers and Eagles to me are 1 and 2.
Yeah, I agree.
So,
that's why I said top 3.